I think it was 2009, I believe,
Yes.
wasn't it?
That sounds about right.
About 2009, yeah. And I had been going to the downtown marketplace
To
on
busk.
Saturdays, just to busk, which means play guitar on the sidewalk there, just for the fun of it. Because I used to do that in Houston, and it was just fun to do. And Adrienne was helping a friend of hers, Nancy Jefferson, who we
Sell
mentioned
her
a minute ago,
pottery.
sell her pottery.
And I kept hearing him playing, and I kept thinking, that guy needs harmony. And it took me a long while to get up the nerve to go over and add some, but one day someone else did, and I thought, well, heck, somebody else is adding harmony, I can add harmony too.
Yeah.
And then after that, every time he came, I would kind of sidle over and add some harmony. And then we did that for a while.
Yeah.
And then one of us said, do you think we should practice? And so we began practicing and finding places to play. And we still do that all the time.
Yeah, she came up and started singing harmony, and she's a fabulous singer. I mean, just fabulous. And it just sounded so good, and we both wanted to kind of nurture that sound.
Well, we thought it might be nice to sing into microphones. Well, he was playing
I
guitar.
would play guitar and then sing.
And I had kind of stopped making music for a long time. I made a lot of it when I was younger. And so I had to kind of dust off an old guitar that turned out to have warped really badly. So we went and picked one up, an old secondhand guitar. And then a friend gave me this guitar, which was incredible.
Oh, can we see it?
Yeah, this guitar is number 19 out of 25 for that year. It's a Gibson Western Classic, and it was her husband's, and he developed a tremor and he couldn't play anymore, so she brought it to me, and I was overwhelmed. This guitar should go to him, not me.
Oh, no.
He's the guitar player. He's really good.
But that is an exceptional guitar.
And it's so big. It's
huge.
This huge body that it just feels like another being.
No, it's very beautiful.
Yeah, it's wonderful.
When I was a kid, my father played guitar and ukulele and a little bit of piano, and he would always do it just purely for fun, and always had just a great time. And so that must have made a real impression on me. I was always just naturally musical myself. And then when I was a teenager in high school, this was in Miami, my father died, and I got his old guitar. It was a beat-up old pawn shop guitar that my mother had bought for him long ago, and I just started playing it. And was also in the school orchestra, and I'm deeply into classical music too. But Bob Dylan came along, and the Beatles came along, and I had that guitar, and it just went from there.
That whole era.
Yeah.
We're both from that era. I had a grandfather who had a dance band called Carl Fogelin and the Nighthawk Ramblers. They immigrated from Sweden, and they moved into this Swedish settlement, and they began playing American kind of country music. And when he died, I got his guitar, but I had no knowledge of how to play a guitar, so I was trying to make it up, and my mother signed me up for a lesson. I was about 2 lessons in when we began singing something, and the guy said, "Hey, you can sing. I got a band I want you to sing with." And so I kind of played all through high school, all through college. Then things got busy, and then I met him.
And Adrienne wrote a song, which is real popular amongst our people that come to our...
The 5 people who like us love this song.
Yeah, it's called Grandpa Had a Dance Band.
Yeah.
And not only talks about her grandpa, but then it has a verse for every guitar
Every
that she's
guitar
owned
I've ever
since
owned, yes. It's really long.
It's a lot, but it's a real entertaining song.
People are glad I didn't own more than I did. How I'd characterize our music is it's melodic. It's not real rhythm based. The melodies are very strong, the harmonies are strong, and the stories are strong. And that's the whole thing. Can you look at this? Is a book of original songs, just to show you how many originals we write. Yeah, we're
several hundred.
Many. And many of them are story songs, and they concentrate on the people that you don't think about. Like we have one about the woman who sells you tickets at the discount movie theater. We write a lot of songs like that.
Are these like personal experience stories, or just kind of like things that you hear about from other people?
Some are. A lot of them, though, are just stories. I mean, I write novels, so stories are my stock and trade anyway. Craig tends to write the more
topical
popular
ones. Yeah.
kind of, and ones that sit in the moment.
Yeah. Like, for example, I wrote one that was about the school massacres and gun violence, or some other kinds of topical subjects like that, or more kind of rock and roll-ish, environmental. Whereas Adrian, being a writer, an accomplished writer, is a master at storytelling, and she's written lots of songs that tells. There's one, for example, that she wrote called "Back Home," and it's a story of a young girl who, during the Vietnam War era, who marries a young man, gets pregnant, and he goes off and dies in the war, and then they bring him back home, and that is such a masterfully told story in that song that the video we made of that has been played on a lot of veterans' websites on Memorial Day and all over the country, and it's really sunk in.
Many of them.
Not most of them, but
more they're, I think, human-driven. They're the stories of people in ordinary circumstances and life. They're stories about life, and they happen to have a melody with them.
So they're relatable.
Yeah.
Yes, I hope so.
At its best, I think what we want to do is celebrate the human spirit.
And life.
And we also are always searching for that melody, that beautiful melody, that kind of musical thing.
And the harmony.
That's always a good part.
And things that people will like close their eyes when they hear them.
Okay. You want people to kind of get immersed into the music.
Yes.
We have some really goofy ones too. Like we have one called Space Junk, about space junk falling on your head, and we have one called Love Bugs, about the love bugs
on your windshield.
But those are less important works.
I don't know. Well, I run a food bank. My father lived across the street from me at the end of his life, and when he died, we turned the house into the front porch library. There's a fundraiser for it. We did that for about 12 years, where kids would come every Sunday. We have tons of books and we do projects. They'd come for a couple hours every Sunday. And then COVID hit. So we changed the house over to being a food bank. And we distribute every Monday night. And it's an incredibly labor-intensive thing. In addition to that, I edit a lot of books. I write. I teach classes for writers. But mostly it's about food lately.
I mean, with everything going on, that's actually a very important thing.
It is. No, it is. And on top of that, people come in and they tell me their stories. So it keeps me connected to what's going on in people's lives, which right now is hard. So that's what I do in my spare time.
Yeah, it's hard to understand how we can live in a country this rich where there are people who are still hungry. Hard to understand that.
It makes me so angry.
Particularly children. And Adrian's Food Bank really serves a lot of people that really, really need it.
We're a second harvest food bank, but we always, for a while, we were getting all our food from Lucky's Market. We had a neighbor who worked there, and when they had stuff they were getting rid of, we'd go get it. And we'd get 3 truckloads of bananas, and we'd go to the Carney Center. That would be our first thing, the Carney Center. We'd even the Junior Museum, we would bring fruit and vegetables too, just to keep it from going bad, because when they gave us food, they gave us a lot of food. Second Harvest is much better paced. We'll go and get a truckload. At our worst, we'll get a truckload and a carload each week. So, but we, and we do a lot of emergency distributions. Someone will call and say they have no food, and they come over and we load their trunk. They get our name through Second Harvest.
Okay.
We're an emergency source, which is okay. Emergencies really happen.
So people need them, especially, like I said, with everything going on.
Right now. The other day we had a call from a woman whose whole family had COVID and no food. So the woman drove over in her car, and I was going to say she popped her trunk, but she didn't have to because the trunk was broken. It was standing open when she got there. We just loaded the trunk and didn't have any contact with her, and she went on, and they had food. So that was good.
Yeah, that's a blessing that you're even able to do that. It's like she has COVID, but she's still able to
get food. Exactly. Exactly. It makes me feel really good.
Well, one thing, my wife and I are both volunteers at Big Bend Hospice, which is a wonderful organization. And we love to go camping, which we do from time to time. and a lot of walking in the woods, and there's so many beautiful places around here to go with our dog. I also spend a lot of time making music videos, which to me is a really fun hobby. I love doing that. It's so much fun to do. So I spend a lot of time doing that. My wife and I moved here in '99. I got a job teaching at the business school at FAMU. And after a while, it dawned on me that my students would be well served if I made lecture videos that they could watch at home at their own time. I started making lecture videos, and then about the same time, I started playing with Adrian. We became a band, Hot Tamale, and I started making videos of us performing. And after a while, I started realizing that those two skill sets were kind of overlapping. And so I started kind of coming up the ladder of skills of doing this. Not that I'm that great at it. I'm not professional.
He's pretty good.
But I got to the point where I just loved putting together videos that had music and visuals and all kinds of things like that. It's just a lot of fun, and you can. It's a very engaging media because it engages your hearing and your visual and also the words as well. So I love doing that.
Oh,
yeah.
Came from an old Robert Johnson tune. Hot tamales and they're red hot. She got them for sale.
But you can't see, but
there's a poster.
Adrian's husband gave me a poster of Robert Johnson. This was over the other wall of the garage there.
It's probably a weird name for us.
Yeah.
But it just came out of one of the first songs we ever did together.
Yeah.
And I don't know. Band names are tricky.
I mean, you pick one and it's like,
Yeah.
decide 5, 10 years for whatever you want to
Yeah,
change it.
my high school band was called Half Price Paradise. And then it evolved into a band called, I kid you not, King Snail.
Yeah, those some very interesting names.
Yes, I know.
But back to Hot Tamale. This is one of my busking standards when Adrian started singing with me, and they became kind of like our theme song because first of all it's real upbeat, and we play two kazoos in harmony along with the song, which I don't think Robert Johnson did. So we've taken it up a notch.
Elevated a little bit.
Yeah.
Switched it up a little bit.
In fact, we boldly claim to be the best dual kazoo neo-vaudeville string band east of the Ocklawahamie River.
And no one has disputed it.
No one has disputed that
That's
yet.
a very tall order to live up to.
Yes.
Oh, so like when you guys started playing together, like were you intending to make a band, or was it just kind of like something that happened?
It
just
kinda
happened.
But we're both real hams, and we love to perform. And we've done things like kind of theatrical
We did
shows
the
as
Stop
well.
Choppy Home Companion.
What is that?
It was kind of like a Takeoff on the Prairie Home Companion. It had all kinds of narratives and songs and hats,
And jokes and skits and things like that.
and
So we love doing stuff like that whenever we have the opportunity.
whenever they let us.
That's great.
Plus, we love busking, which means just playing out on the sidewalk, and we've done a lot of that, and face to face. In fact, we have a special status with the Springtime Tallahassee Festival that we've been doing for years and years and years that no one else has. They allow us
Just
to
set up
operate
anywhere and play.
anywhere that we want and set up and play right on the sidewalk, right in front of people, and which we do every year.
And during the height of the pandemic, we would get together every Sunday on the main stage at Cascades and just play.
Yeah.
It was really, we're kind of going back to that with things being where they are.
Yeah.
I think it was,
Just because we love that song.
Yeah.
It's just so much fun.
we weren't thinking ahead. We weren't saying,
Yeah.
do we want to be Hot Tamale forever? And the other thing is we often get called Hot Tamales. And we say, no, it takes both of us to make one Hot Tamale.
Yeah, we both have kind of complementary musical skills.
We do.
So, she does a lot of things very well that I don't, and vice versa. So that works for us.
He's the guy who can take a pencil and go, and write out the sheet music like that. And I look at it and go, Greek? I don't know.
And we co-write all our songs. We decided at the very beginning we'd say every song that we write we'll co-write them, Fogelin and Reeder, and that's a real benefit to me because she's a professional writer, an award-winning novelist. So she's like a ringer. So for a songwriter,
That's the thing that I bring.
yeah. So as a collaborator, as a collaboration, I think of us as like Lennon McCartney.
What we are is we're both flat on one side, but it's the opposite side.
Yeah.
So it makes one round thing.
We make one round musician.
But having a professional writer as my co-writer of our songs is an amazing benefit, because she knows how to write. Oh, let me give you an example. and take this advantage of this to brag a little bit. So we had a song called Red Betty, and up here on this chart you see it hit #1 on the Indie World Country Record Report, which you've probably never heard of, and most people haven't, but still, it was #1, and I think it was 2019. But that song came about, written by Adrian, came about from a sort of family history.
My husband comes from a family of 10 kids, and the littlest kid was named Betty. And they had this chant they would say. They'd yell, "Red Betty, get the bed ready! Red Betty, get the bed ready!" So when I turned it into a song, it has a completely different meaning. It's a man coming in off the road from, doing his job. Red Betty, get the bed ready.
That record got played on over 100 radio stations all over the country, and a few places overseas as well.
And we know how to take advantage of other talents. So Holly Riley played fiddle on that. She's like the best, not only local fiddler, she's just a great fiddler. So we had a really excellent sound.
The two big ones. One is Hank Williams, because his songs are so universal. Think of this: he wrote these songs in the early '50s. People are still singing them today.
And we're amazed that he can get away with using a tiny handful of chords and still write something very
that
memorable.
are so good that people still sing them. And the other one is Ma Rainey, who a lot of people have never heard of, but she was an amazing a performer in the 20s and 30s. Adrian, you can say a little bit about Ma Rainey.
Gertrude Ma Rainey. She was a musician and an incredible businesswoman, and she was Black. And she was one of the few, if maybe not the only woman, who could go and perform in white theaters. She performed all over. When she retired, she bought a chain of movie theaters. She became an entrepreneur. She was ugly, self-proclaimed ugly, and ballsy and just in your face. She was amazing. So we do some songs like that, just real. We do one of her songs.
Yeah, we love the 20s and 30s
style
blues. It's real earthy. It's real gritty. And
look at us. Do we look earthy and gritty?
And it's just got this thing to it that just is wonderful. And it really appeals to our hamminess too, because she would put on these stage shows that were just like people.
Think of an earlier version of Tina Turner.
Yeah, right. Good example.
Yes, there is.
Yeah,
there is.
That's the first time I actually heard about Ma Rainey. So
yeah.
Well,
really? There are some very rudimentary recordings of her. But she unfortunately was a performer before they were really doing good recordings. So you get only a shadow idea of what she was like. But her personality was outsized. In the process, we've become kind of a one person musically. We can anticipate each other. We know what the other guy is going to do. If you sing harmony a lot, you get really good at anticipating the other person. And I think our music has evolved a lot because of the collaboration.
I've certainly learned a lot about writing from Adrian, lots and lots about writing.
And he is just an amazing musician. He can sound like 5 guitar players. He just has this really steady, big sound, and it allows me to sing. And I play guitar, but I play very little compared to him. I mean, I add a few notes, and he just adds the whole. We sound more like a band than we should because of the way he plays.
Yeah, and on a personal level, one thing that has really struck me deeply about Adrian is she has this really deep sense of empathy and a love of human beings and to help people, and that really just inspires me. Like, for example, running a food bank and a lot of other things she does in that way.
He was so inspired, he bought us 2 new refrigerators.
Well,
because my refrigerators never make temperature. You have to be 0 in your freezer and under 42 in your refrigerator to be a Second Harvest food bank, and mine falter a lot. I talk to them all the time. I say, guys, I'm going to check your temperature, see if you can make it.
Now, here's another thing about the dynamics between the two of us. We're very different in many ways. And one of the ways is that Adrian is very modest and very unassuming. And I'm very much the opposite. I am
He's a great bragger.
a great bragger.
He's good at it.
I'm known as the shameless promoter. And so I've learned from her to be a little bit less self-centered and a little bit more human-centered. And I hope she's learned from me to be a little bit more assertive and a little bit more outgoing. But the way we joke about this is we often say, or I will often say that, wow, we are better than you think we are and almost as good as I think we are.
That's a nice little balance between the two.
We'd just like them to hear our music.
Yeah. And, as I explained to Emmanuel, at this stage, we're both 72. We're not trying to be stars.
I'm 70. Don't put me in there.
I'm sorry. She's much younger than me. I'm sorry. We're not trying to promote ourselves as stars or anything. We just want our music to be heard. Yeah. That's all. And we're never going
to say it to their backs as they walk away.
We're never going to be a traveling band, what do you call it, a road act. We're never going to do anything like that. That's not of interest to us. We just want the music to go out, and if it's being sung by somebody else, that's okay. We just want the music to have its own life.
And if it doesn't, we will just continue to be the best neo-vaudeville duo kazoo band this side of the Ocklawakanee River.
It seems like you guys are having a blast while you're doing it. So,
we love it. We absolutely love it.
Well, I'll tell you something. This is kind of a secret of our success. Neither one of us is trying to make a living at music. And therefore, we can make any kind of music we want. We don't have to make music that makes money.
Yeah, it's like I'm doing it because I love it. So at this point, it's whatever.
Yeah.
I was very fortunate. I figured out at a young age that I wasn't good enough to make a living at music. I would have if I could have, because I loved music all my life. I was writing classical pieces in high school. But I figured out at an early age I wasn't good enough to make a living at it. And that freed me up to make any kind of music I want. And hallelujah.